So peace to you all. This is Soli, and I am a host from Alkalize to Realize talk show. And today I got the beautiful Rose. She will be joining us on this beautiful talk about, health, fasting, urine therapy, and I guess just her experience with fasting and things of that nature. So I am aware that you have been practicing urine therapy for like 40 years now.
46.
46? Babe.
Just six years out of the closet.
Right.
Quietly in my own little urine world.
Well, I feel like I think that's very interesting because with me, I feel like the thing with urine therapy, it's like most of the time you don't plan to get out. It's like, it just happens, So I'm surprised you went 40 years in the closet.
Well, I had the fear, of being found out. It's a secret.
Yeah, it's
a secret that's never been told, because there's been, it's been just shoveled under the rug, and we've been told it's a waste, and it's yucky.
Yeah, I also think it's very interesting because it's yucky, this and that, but even in Western medicine,
you can say
they utilize it, in Western medicine. They use it. Like, they give you animal urine. But they, but it's still, a waste product. Because, well, I feel like once we come to the realization of urine therapy, it's like we don't need the Western medicine anymore, And I feel like that's something they fear. But, I just wanted to know, like, how did you get into this practice?
I was told that Shivan Vu knows you and you know it, and it comes from within. I was given this little riddle and pondered on it, and of course when you're sitting on the toilet and peeing, they're like, is that what was he talking about, what Shivan Vu was? And I like asked him after I figured out the riddle, I think, and he's like, oh, okay, she did. Because he would drink urine, by glass, through his nose. Some days that glass was yellow as fresh urine, or in my mind, it was dark, which I thought was Coca-Cola. Imagine drinking Coca-Cola through your nose. I'm like, what?
Imagine drinking age urine through your nose. What?
Yeah. And he was doing it, stuff like that. So, like, and he did other funny things in the backyard that it's like, it caught my attention.
Yeah, so it's either, well, what was your first reaction, but I also feel like you had to have such an open mind, What was your first reaction?
I've dreamt about this. I fell asleep in the backyard, and when I drank my first urine, quietly all by myself, and I literally just fell asleep. There's a few times that I've had a recurring dream. I see myself sleeping in the backyard, and and I can what I do remember is when I woke up, it was late. It was past the time to be in the house, so I got kind of punished for being out late. It's past dark. You were supposed to be home. Like, well, I fell asleep.
You were in your backyard.
Well, it was the neighbor's backyard.
What? How did you get there?
I walked over.
Oh.
You just, a couple doors down from your neighbor is where my neighbor lived that this Swami Rama was staying with.
Yeah. That's very
So that,
interesting.
and during the summer, he would have, what we call fresh urine in jars, and he would make it turn black. And like, how'd you do that? Oh, it needs to sit in the sun. It absorbs the sun. He told me that it's, this is the powerhouse, the aged urine. There
Mm-hmm.
was he pointed out a yin yang sign. And he says, this is the young urine. And then the aged urine, they're kind of like the Pisces sign, having the two fish swim,
Right.
creating that, the whirlpool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very interesting. Hmm. Well, how do you think people came to the realization to age urine? I think that's something that's very interesting.
It is interesting how because how did they save it is a question. I mean, there's a lot of an interesting dialogue that I've read about the Egyptian tombs. Take an example.
Mm-hmm.
They had very large containers or casts of containers. And the story that I had written or read is that the containers contained vinegar. And I was like, I bet you it was urine. Those that explored the early days of the Egyptian tombs being under excavation and learning that these containers, they said, had liquid in it, and they said it was vinegar. But I bet you it was this.
Yeah.
Because that information would have been shared, if we understood what that was in those containers and how they used it, perhaps we would know more truthfully about our history.
Right. Yeah. And I definitely agree with you with it being urine because, like, as it is, the Egyptians, they were really they really favored gold, like the sun and just the color gold. And I really do think the fact that our urine, is golden in its color in a sense. I'm certain that they looked at it that way, that it had to have some sort of value. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it does.
Well, so they said it was vinegar, but do you think they had like an explanation as to why it was vinegar? 'Cause, I feel like they
there
can't
wasn't
really
an
just.
explanation.
Yeah.
If it was,
Yeah.
they just labeled it, and I was like, I bet my imagination thinks otherwise. Why would they say vinegar?
Right. Okay, so what exactly is urine and why is it not a waste product?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Oh.
Loaded with a lot of information. We know that there's over 3,000 components, byproducts from what we consume. Correct? That would be amino acids, your minerals, your vitamins, enzymes, because our ability of breaking down through our digestion tract, our body produces enzymes and interchanges with those, enzymes that are living. And that would be your fresh fruits and vegetable, or a raw seed, raw food consumption. And that our body exchanges and produces new compounds of enzymes facilitates other deeper cleaning, because there's certain herbal tools, call them cleansing tools, using the herbs to help activate that cleansing action. Example, the turpentine we know is a tool to help clean parasites, or manifesting a new era of healthy bacteria in the gut. if there's an overgrowth of mold, because mold doesn't survive turpentine. It agitates, or turpentine agitates mold. You don't see trees that are living with mold growing on them. But you see dead trees and lots of fungi observing in nature. You can find different types of species growing on dead trees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also part of the process of how nature is breaking down that matter. That makes sense? Or you can follow me?
Yeah.
Because you can go back a few years later. Like there's I live close to the river, and I'll always watch where the trees are falling down, and because there's nice fruit of fungi to pick that's edible on certain species of trees, like the cottonwood or an oak tree and maple. Those produce a very edible fruit, whereas other species of forestry may not, because they like certain elements that are breaking down as the tree starts to decay.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. So there's a component in urine, technically, that fights mold, right? And this component, this component is found in trees as well. But I also do want to mention that, I feel like there has been people who said that they found, like mold in their aged urine.
Oh yeah, that's just the mold that's growing that we've been exposed to. Be it through our consumption. I mean, there's blue cheese. Blue cheese is mold.
A mold, yeah.
Any kind of really cheese is moldy cheese. It's part of that process for cheese. Milk turns into a moldy product that we consume. The popular flavor of blue cheese, people enjoy, however they want to enjoy. And it's our body adapts to it or responds to it. And if it's some people, have bad reactions to a blue cheese. They usually can break out in hives or aggravate a lot of mucus, throw off.
Yeah. So, technically, ultimately, it's like, just because you're consuming something that has been labeled to be, harmful, but yet you're not experiencing any. Well, of course, you always are. Yeah, you always are, but they're just, some bodies adapt, and I guess that's ultimately it. Like, just because this is considered wrong, but you don't really experience any significant symptoms, it doesn't particularly mean that it's right. It just means that you have adopted right to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Or your body, it's adjusting. Well, to answer your question, our body makes, if there's something foreign in the body, it'll make an antibody. Mm-hmm. And we know this, scientifically, this is what the medical industry has given us as information, that our body is capable of producing antibodies. But how do we get those antibodies back in us? Well, it definitely is the urine. And then that marker of that irritation or pathogen within the body is communicated into the rest of the body when you return the fluid back in to execute sweeping that out of the body. And this is where a person may experience strong detoxification symptoms, and the strongest one is diarrhea or perspiration, because the body is like, got to get rid of that, and our perspiration is the second action next to the the bowel movement release, which usually is diarrhea.
Right. Okay. So
A
can you
loose stool.
Yeah. So can you tell us, the separation between where waste is stored in the body and where urine is stored in the body? Because, all I want to do is, in a sense, just bring clarity to the fact that, there is indeed a separation between waste and urine. Because, I feel like a lot of people have been programmed to think and believe that it is a waste product.
Yeah. That's kind of, an example is if you have a loaf of bread, right? And you only want to make a sandwich. How many slices of that loaf of bread do you take? 2 or 1, depending on how big of a sandwich you want. But is the rest of the loaf of bread a waste? No. So this is, I was talking with somebody the other day, and she was saying it was a waste product. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? The anatomic fluid of a fetus growing within the womb, how is it living?
Right, yeah.
How can we call it a waste product? It's living, breathing identity of our liquid self, our soul.
Right, exactly. And in a sense, and I really, do believe this, because I came across this information that was like, in a sense, our urine is like, it has our soul's imprint on it, because I do want to say that the soul is liquid-like, Yeah. And it's just, the consciousness that urine has, and the fact that urine can guide you, like literally, like, it speaks to you if you listen. Like there have been times when it would be like, you need to drink this because of this, and this, and I'd be like, whoa, okay. Yeah.
I can show you how I read a book.
Sure.
This is some stuff, aging. I watched Rama take material of the reading material, and he would age urine on top of it.
Whoa.
Which then then the research of Dr. Emoto talked about. This is called intentional reading.
Yeah.
Are you thirsty for some education? Here it is. You don't have to read the book. Drink it.
Right. Whoa, that was amazing, So true.
Well, when I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Emoto, this is back in like 2013, because he passed away in 2014, that I asked Dr. Emoto, you talked about the water of life, tap water, as he was, or the water that he was collecting and observing in his laboratory, because he went to all lakes and rivers around the world collecting and analyzing the structure of that water. And he spoke out about how he thought the structure of water was the Spirit of God. So I'm in the closet, and I dash up to the stage when I have the opportunity to have him sign the book that I brought, that I read of his, and I had asked him, I said, you said the Spirit of God is in water. And would that include the water within the body? He took my hand and squeezed it and gave me a big smile. And I was like, and he scribbled his name on my book, and I was just like, I'm covered with goosebumps right now. And just like, I'm out of the closet. because my husband just found out, and you know, when Dr. Moto was sharing this information, his point of view of how he saw water, and we just, you know, point blankly looked at each other in the audience, and he's like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I got a question." So that he, even though he didn't answer me back with a verbal message or with words, but his grip on my hand, you know, told me
Was
that
enough.
was enough. That was a big
Right.
yes, and he smiled, and I was just like, okay, he understood what I said. I'm clear with that. So I was like, okay, what I saw Rama do with paper, you know, just an ordinary piece of paper. I don't know what was on it because most of it was Indian, you know, Sanskrit, because he was from India. So I couldn't read it. But there were certain things in some of the deities, you know, the deity pictures, you know, the elephant or the lady with all the many hands.
Right.
I don't know the names of these characters, but certain jars had certain pictures underneath them. You know, just like you could take any, maybe a scribble, you know, of, you know, geometry that you like. And just like some people will put crystals around for protection or strengthening what they're aging.
Yeah, so you know, my friend well, this was like months ago, but she was telling me about how she liked to put citrine, the, you know, crystal of abundance, in her urine, and she told me like this would like make the aging process fast and things of that nature, right? So I did this, but what I did was I actually had like stored like this urine, and not my backyard, but in an abandoned house's backyard. And then it was like 6 months later, you know, I went there, and it was just like it aged so quickly, and there was so much sediment at the bottom, you know, and it was just like all insane. But yeah.
Did it evaporate as well? You had a volume that evaporated or not evaporate?
It did. I was like, dang. But I had, you
Where
know,
did
like
that go?
right.
Somebody sneaked it. Somebody drank it for you.
Right. Nah, it was the air. I mean, not the air, but it was the sky. Wanted some, you know.
Wanted to feel you out.
Yeah, right. And you know, one of the things I like to do, like way back in the day, not back in the days, but like I think a couple months ago, like, you know, whenever there was a full moon, I would like write my intentions and, you know, like make a little ritual and things of that nature for manifestation. One of the things I like to do was I would either like get aged urine, like fresh urine, and I would like take some, and, you know, in a sense, I would just put some in the paper. Like, you know, I guess there's so many significance
Like
to that. But one
watercolor.
of the things, watercolor, is that what you said?
Yeah, I said like you're painting watercolor, but you were using your urine.
Yeah. But, you know, one of the things I seen it to be as, or whatever, was like, in a sense, I was enchanting this paper with a part of me, you know. So then I embodied, not embodied, but, you know, I like gave this paper, in a sense, special qualities, I guess I can say.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. But it's a shame that it's you know,
It's frowned
portrayed to be
upon.
taboo, huh? Yeah.
It's frowned upon.
Right, yeah.
It's not an open conversation like politics, maybe an example.
Yeah. Very interesting, all interesting, all interesting. So, well, why did you get into urine therapy, you know, like, what was the reason for you to get into urine therapy? Was it like health related, spirituality related, or like?
Well, when I was a kid, we moved, so I didn't get to
Mhm.
see the neighbor. So 15 years later, I stumbled across meeting Rama again the second time. And at that time, I was diagnosed with genital warts, and that I was gifted from a babysitter when I was a kid. So the physician that was treating me wanted to, burn them off, and, evasive practice that's still done today. And
Mhm.
that day when I met Rama, I just spilled my heart to him, and like, I have this, how do I get rid of it? And he's like, I showed you. And I'm like,
Wow.
and he's like, do you remember? You remember, don't you? And yeah, remember when I was a kid? And he's like, yes, you remember. And I said, yes, I remember. And he's like, start aging your urine and use that to heal whatever you got. It'll be gone. And it was gone 6 months later. The physician treating me was watching the tissue in my body, in my lady parts, changing, because he was burning those tissues, the warts, off from the left side or the right side of my body, and was observing there was no growth, new growth. There was old growth, but the new growth material, there wasn't anything happening. So that was a big game changer.
Right. Right.
For my personal, um, big time. Because I was told I was not going to be able to probably have children, but I proved that wrong. Because I have 3 boys now. 2 of them are twins.
Yeah, you told me. It's crazy. But in a sense, to a degree, doctors can be perceived when they truly don't know what they're doing. And in a sense, in this day and age, a lot of doctors don't know what they're doing all the way. Like, sure, they have like their degree on medicine and everything, but even that medicine is that their medical practice is flawed. I forgot the guy's name, but was he not the father of medicine? Do you know who I'm talking about? But yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
So
that
that guy,
guy.
do you think
Do
he
no
was?
harm. Do
Yeah.
no
Hmm.
harm was his quote unquote for being and practicing as a physician.
Right. Yeah. But
And I think that was at all levels, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Though that's not in his literature, but I think he just bundled it, do no harm. And that's not practiced today.
nope. And especially there's a lot of things flawed, but one of the things that is really flawed in Western medicine is the fact that, unlike Eastern medicine or their practices, they don't particularly incorporate the emotional body and the spiritual body and like energy work. Like, there's that part too. But I also feel like what the medical industry has devolved into is like they're more focused on making a buck more than healing. This is why
They want a
cancer.
client.
Exactly. they they want they want a client. Right, exactly. This is why cancer has so many fucking cures, right? But it's still a process of treatment, and they're like, we still haven't found the cure for cancer. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but did you know that in the medical industry, or just like, I think even when you go to, well, just that, did you know that it's illegal for someone to say cure, or like to
Mm-hmm.
say I found the cure to cancer or things of this nature? Why do you think it's illegal though? Like, damn, that's evil.
Because even the medical industry doesn't allow even their own physicians to say that.
Mm-hmm.
This medication is going to cure you of your ailment. You know, that doesn't happen. You gotta keep filling up the prescription. It's a wheel. It's a money wheel, perpetuating more poisoning slowly.
Yeah, you
To
know,
continue a new medication, or the medication becomes expired, and they make a new one. Well, it's the same medicine, really, just with a new label.
Right. Yeah.
As they were discovering, like, as a heart medication,
Uh-huh.
you know, this is in the early 70s, that a certain heart medication was helping men with their erection issues, but they weren't being addressed as erectional dysfunction, a heart dysfunction. But the pharmaceutical industry, like, oh, we can make a new pill for this other thing. You know, the blue pill. Yeah.
But
how'd they find that out?
Ooh.
Because it was enough feedback from enough people that had consumed a heart medication, but it's noticed the side effect of an erection, you know, the male patient.
Right. But I think that's really wrong, because, you know, it wasn't particularly made for that, you know, so I feel like
No, it wasn't. No.
It shouldn't be used for that. But yeah,
but that's how
it's
manipulated.
Yeah, it's really intentional, you know, like it's not by coincidence that these alternative medicines or Western, like, prescriptions, things of that nature, have like 100 side effects, including death. But most of the time it's just you get one benefit, but you invite all of these other side effects. You know, it's insane. And then, you know, I got this from a friend, but it being alternative medicine, you know, in the word alternative, I mean, it's telling us that they're altering the native, or like nature, I guess you can say, in a sense. And that's what they do, you know, like, let's say if we were to actually go to the core of the medicine and just get a herb and consume that, there will be no side effects. But once they get their hands on it, and, you know, they do all of these things to it, then now all of these harmful side effects.
Or they're isolating a particular compound out of morphine. You know, it's a poppy seed flower. And they're taking one part of the whole structure of the resin that's produced by the poppy seed.
Yeah.
And then they, you know, throw their cocktail in there of other chemicals that then alter it, because then that aspect, what originally was observed by the native people, when they would consume the poppy seed, or not the poppy seed, but the poppy, you know, resin from the scoring of the pod head of the poppy flower. So today's modern medicine will just take an isolation compound from the original plant and then deem that their medicine, with a host of other things in there that we don't even know.
Right, exactly. And then, you know, it's also like one of
called stabilizer, or it skipped. You're frozen. There you go. You're frozen in time.
Yeah, I guess we can keep talking. I guess I was frozen. You for a second there did like this. You did this like flash thing, you know, where it was like it was frozen, but then it caught back up, and your hands was like all over the place. Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, one of the things that they have really suppressed is, I mean, the way that, you know, the medical industry, Western medicine, portrays it is that this medicine will heal you, but in actuality, food doesn't heal us, you know. No medicine can heal us. The body heals the body, you know. Like, when you get a cut, it's the body that has this natural intelligence to heal itself. And this is why fasting is like you know, the greatest medicine you can give yourself.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
we, you know, we're the that's difficult. It is so conveniently available, you know, here.
Right, exactly, and it's free. No one is profiting off of that, so that's a no-no because it's free.
Yeah, you can't do that. We have to make some, you know, some big pockets.
Right, exactly. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I think we could tie that down to capitalism, but you know, what is your understanding on capitalism? Because you know, ultimately, it is like in order for you to get something, you have to give. Is it not? Well,
It's contrived, controlled manipulation of an industry, you know, be it, you know, just like our health food stores, you know, they're gearing away from whole foods and everything's quite processed now.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
if you went back 30 years ago to a whole food store or a co-op, as I, you know, what they've evolved into, you know, you had a 55-gallon drum of peanut butter and then some oatmeal. You know, it was very raw, basic staples. And now
Mm-hmm.
you go into the store and those are in the far back of the store and you've got conveniently everything packaged, ready to go, even if it is organic and is in good intention to be as close as it is to
To
nature.
nature, right?
It's really not.
It's still processed. Yeah, you know, still processed. Um.
It leaves, you know, it's a very unselective choices.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. The
If you don't grow it
the
yourself, you go without.
right. I also want to say, you know, the illusion of choice is an illusion. You know, like in America, we think we have choice, but the truth is they're the ones who are choosing what we get to choose. So in a sense, it's like you don't really have choice, you know, even though it might seem like that. But yeah, I'm sorry, like my mind is just blank for now. It's not blank, but like I
All
have these
right.
thoughts. They come in and then they go, and then they come in and they go.
Ask this question, ask that question. Or share this, share that. No worries.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. Um,
So, can I ask you a question?
sure, go
So,
ahead.
have your aged urine, have you allowed the aged urine to completely dehydrate?
Dehydrate, isn't that so then you can produce what they call hormus or hummus? I have yet to do that, no. But can you tell me why someone would want to do that though? What the significance and what you can do with this hormones? Like, so wait, let me also share this one thing. Like 2 years ago, before I was even practicing urine therapy, I came across hormones, you know, and I thought it was just so fucking amazing. I was like, how do I get my hands on this stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also, but I was curious how they were doing it. And then I saw or can correlate, they're doing the same thing that I saw a funny man do in the backyard as a kid. The alchemy, playing
Hmm.
with and making the process of your own gold.
What the
See that?
heck? Is that gold? What the, wait, what?
This is urine from 2015. It's old. So it makes crystals.
Right, right. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, yes,
So it's
you know that
dark.
mhm. The ideology of alchemy, it is in many levels, and one of the levels indeed being mental, but guess there is a literal practice of turning urine into gold instead of saying lead into gold. But yeah, yeah. Well, now what can you do with those crystals that you have formed?
I've experimented using it, by placing it under the tongue, because our under the tongue is the thinnest membrane
Mm-hmm.
to receiving information into the body.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll place a small crystal under the tongue. I have tried to burn it, to see how it worked. I've chewed it with other resins like frankincense and myrrh to see how it combines and produces information. That this is a bowl of resin that I've chewed of frankincense. So as it is fresh, it'll be an opaque, white color. But as it ages or dries, it will become more amber. Biblically, we know that the wise men, we were told, brought frankincense, myrrh, and gold. So how to crack the code is the question that I asked or observed, and that you have the charcoal discs that you put incense on. You place your gold on the disc, your amber, and that produces, just like burning frankincense, normal frankincense, unchewed. It will make a very nice aroma and smell, but the nice thing is that if you've chewed this, your DNA is markered in the resin.
Mm-hmm.
And then you breathe that information back into your body via the lungs, and it gets into the bloodstream to communicate with our cells again.
Right, exactly. That process happens in the practice of urine therapy too. I was wondering if you can go into that, because I think that's very interesting. How the loop or the feedback.
Mm-hmm. When I smoke the resin,
Mm-hmm.
it has I'd say most of my writing, or if my ancestors are going to communicate with me, I
Mm-hmm.
feel a very strong reading or sense of information. And most of the time, the other day, I did a little doodad. I was writing the date on the jar, which the date was 9/11/19. And I had posted something a couple days ago. On that day, I posted something about that date. And we all have a different conversation about that probably. But I saw the numbers spelling out bliss. And then like bliss, I also see blood. And then as you start, I dream in a lot of times the Scrabble words,
Mm-hmm.
letters. So the letters or the forms or the symbols, I've been poking around at the astrology aspect of symbols / also esoteric letters or other languages letters, because it's a scramble of different types of letters. And often when I'm embarking to take my own code in, that this ability, puts the letters into order, or I'm able to write down more quickly, the thought versus just in a dream. It's pretty crazy. So I have notebooks full of old codes that I try to like look back and like, what would happen, or how did I get this? You know, and try to some people, they look at it and they're like, well, it's just 9, you know, or the upside down and backwards, it looks completely different than if it's 9/11.
Right. Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah. You know, there's only one conversation that's the right conversation when it comes to that aspect of 9/11.
A hoax. Just one word.
Right, just one word. You know, it's a crazy system or world. Well, to a degree, you know, because there's always the duality of good and bad or light and dark. Yeah, it's very interesting, you know, like things that is said to take place behind the scenes and things of that nature. Yeah. You know what's interesting? Well, that's like very dark. But I was gonna say, you know, it's interesting the practice of like not us, but you know, they say like the Masons or like the Illuminati or whatever, they practice like drinking blood, and it said that, you know, this gives them special abilities, I want to say, but I also feel like I'm pretty certain that they also drink their urine too. But in a sense, you know, drinking your urine and drinking your blood is, to a degree, like they're similar. You know, they are resonating at different frequencies indeed. But you know, the fact that you know, the blood, yeah, the urine is a byproduct of the blood is, I guess, very interesting. Or yeah, like
Yeah, it is. It's a duality within ourselves. The plasma versus the blood cells or the red blood cells. And often in the beginning, you know, our plasma, when you start embarking on this, doesn't taste so palatable because it's full of, you know, things that, you know, we have no idea where it came from, how it got there. And then you got to look into how some of the engineering that's taken place over generations, the poisoning, I'll call it, just keep it with one word. And you can go down the many different rabbit holes you want with that. But, you know, we've been taught how to, you know, poison ourselves for the profit of the pharmaceutical company or our medical industry.
Right, yeah.
Which ties into our earlier conversation.
Exactly, the medical industry. I was gonna say, you know, I mean, it is becoming a norm in this day and age, but previously the norm was self-hatred, you know? I mean, now the norm is acceptance of self and things of that nature, but you know, even like the music that they allow to be played in the radio and everything, because you know, lately I've also been like, I guess, experimenting with like affirmations and things of that nature, you know. And while I do this, like, I'm also, you know, opening to listening to any form of music, because what I realized is, you know, it's like you are in trouble if you have an open subconscious mind, and you know, you don't understand the power of your subconscious mind, and in a sense you don't really know how to filter. But I feel like if you can discern right from wrong, which is like, you know, something that comes to us from birth, but in a sense it's in us, you know, it's like human nature, but in a sense this kind of gets blurred out as we grow, you know. It's because we are programmed to, because children, they know what is right. Children know what is right, but as we grow up,
they've been stifled. We've been processed to stifle, you know, put out our own flame, you know. And if you allow your flame to flourish and grow, we're, you know, instead of being we're becoming more self-loving of ourselves. But that was interpreted, you years ago as being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not being selfish. We're manifesting our own individuality of nurturing and loving ourselves, because that was missing a few generations ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some religious practices, you know, you can't love yourself. You got to love God first.
Right, exactly.
Or Jesus,
But who
or
is
whatever.
God?
Yeah, there you go.
A guy in the sky.
It's going to come down from the heavens.
Yeah, yeah. You know, even that the act of self-love, you know, the act of taking care of oneself can also be portrayed to be, it is a duality, you know, it is also very selfless, because in the sense, it's like, you are not in a place to help another person if you have yet to help yourself, you know?
Oh, correct. Definitely. But we've been, you know, help others and work.
Right. But yeah, so there was
Recording.
like a disruption, you know, but we are back now. We're
Woohoo!
woohoo. Yeah, but you know, just to I guess we're gonna wrap it up, but ultimately I guess you can start share like where you know, like the benefits of practicing like urine therapy, and the positive the positives you get from, you know, practicing urine therapy and everything. I can't even talk.
Lost for words. I think it builds our character. It builds our courage. It also, I think, deepens our imagination and how we manifest. Makes us, help connect us manifesting our dreams.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that the part with manifestation, and like, because, you know, in order for someone to manifest, they must first create a flow. And when you think of flow, you think of water, you think of rivers, and you know, just the water in its essence has that energy that if you can tap into, if you want to, you know, manifest. Like, water to a degree is about abundance. It is about flow and things of that nature, you know. So I really definitely can see how, you know, urine being water or liquid, water of life, whatever, and you know, it being connected to it can be connected to manifestation, definitely. And also, you know, when you are in this practice of urine therapy, in a sense, like, there are no words that are needed, because the urine knows what you need, you know. And when you do this, when you
That's
take
where the antibodies get to work, you know, because we're returning them, because that's their job.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But it's deeper than that. Like, where I'm going,
Yeah, yes, I know.
like,
I just,
you know, like, even at a spiritual level, like, like, you know, it knows what you need. Yes, because it is you, you know. So it definitely knows what you need, like, physically wise, but in all other aspects too, you know.
spiritually, I think it really, it allows us to nurture and observe ourselves, our true self, of what we want to create. I mean, you know, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Right. I just want to be.
That's all we need. We
You
are
know,
the
I also
world.
think it really does promote self-acceptance, you know, like, the way
Couldn't
you,
agree more.
yeah, the way you come, you know, the evolution you experience when it's like the your first experience of urine therapy, or just consuming urine, it's like not so accepting, and then after a while you realize, once you do come to the place of accepting urine and the fact that it came from you, you know, there is this sense of like, you are in of yourself worth, you're like good, and you know, I don't know, there's just like sense of value, I guess I can say.
Worthiness.
Yeah, worthiness, exactly. Worthiness to be consumed.
Not forgotten or frowned upon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So it
you
definitely.
know, makes you smile inside. You know,
Mhm.
you there, I'll go somewhere and there's this complete strangers that will walk up to me and engage in conversation, and like with one of the boys or my husband, they're like, "Did you know him?" I'm like, "No."
Right, I feel you.
They're like, "What was that all about?" And I go, "I don't know."
Yeah, I feel like it definitely does raise our vibration. Like for one, when you are, practicing urine therapy, you can't really go into you don't it's not even like a restriction thing, but it's a flow thing where like you start to, go in a sense away from like destructive things, because the urine,
Violence.
it feeds you info, and like it's a loop, and it tells you what you're doing and what you aren't doing, and it is like helping empower you and things of that nature. But on top of that, when it comes to food, you definitely do, like when you eat healthy, you that shows up in the urine, and when you don't eat healthy, that also shows up, so there's that aspect too.
Well, the bad eating habits just
Uh-huh.
gives you an opportunity, to retaste it, and
Um,
even if the thought of them they wanting to change their diet, or to follow a certain way of dieting, that they'll get there. It's
right.
just on their own terms as they, you know, first off, to drink your own urine is just a practice that you slowly integrate. That at some point, the integration of that alters and shifts how we think,
Hmm.
how
Right.
we're even process even what we eat. What I used to crave, you no longer. You're just a junk food eater, like of sugar, candy bars, chips, and then you embark in this journey. All of a sudden, those things aren't on your craving radar. It starts dropping. The frequency of that consumption. You may still like it, but you don't have to have it.
Right.
That's what I've observed in my diet shifting changes of consumption.
Yeah, like I agree with you. It definitely does help to change your vibration, raise your vibration, and I really do believe, well, it's not even a means of believing. This is like actual evident, it's evident that your thoughts,
The knowing.
your internal world reflects to you your external reality. So, I really do think that's why and the people you attract are, there's that saying, your vibe attracts your tribe, and this is very true. And I really do think like, when you're out in public and people approach you, I feel like it's because they feel your vibe, and this is very true. Like telepathic communication is very real, like in the unconscious realm, we are all connected. And, I had an experience with this as well. Like when I was, this
Okay.
was way back when I was like eating healthy, meditating and things of that nature. One day I was just sitting in the park, and I think I was reading this like biology book, and then I just sat back and I was listening to music, of course, like high vibrational music or whatever, and I was just like singing along to the song, and then I just like I was fortunate enough to tap into like this like this dimension, or like different realm, I really want to say, where I was able to see like how I was connected with everything, but it all started with the trees. Like I started feeling and seeing this like connection with the trees, and then automatically it dropped, because I don't know, because these aren't things that come natural to us, but I was like, hold on, there's something there. So I tried to tap back into it, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
so I did, and I really felt, and I seen this connection with the trees, and then the birds. Like when I was looking at the bird, I didn't think, look, that bird is flying. I was like, holy shit, I'm flying, like literally. And then
Listen.
right, and then as I looked around, the people around me, I seen this cord, and I was like, it connected to me. It like we were all connected to this cord, and I was also able to feel like their energy and things of that nature, and in that. And there, I guess there was compassion, but also empathy, and I just felt really bad as well. But yeah, just there, it really showed me that we are all connected, and at like an unconscious level, we are all like, exchanging energies. And I think this is like,
With each
you know,
other.
yeah, exactly. And this is like where the intuition comes in, and you know how you know who's right for you and you know who isn't right for you. Like your intuition tells you, you know. So it's like
Yeah, you like this. Maybe it's pimples on your skin, or the hair on the back of your neck starts standing up, or you feel like you want to turn around and go the other direction. You know, they're just
right. Yeah,
or
definitely.
you hit the wall and you're like, what happened?
Definitely, definitely. Well, you know, also going back to the urine, like when I fasted for 6 days on just, you know, urine, like not consuming any food, but just drinking my urine, and that's all I did.
Mm-hmm.
I know you did like 22 days, and that's 22, 21, 22, right, right.
Yeah,
And that's insane. Like,
22.
whoa, that's pretty cool, pretty dope. But yeah, I just did 6, and I think it was like on the fourth or third day, I woke up, and while I was, you know, drinking this urine, I also had like the practice of like waking up early, like I think around 5, going outside, meditating, and then waiting for the sun to rise, and I would like sun gaze, you know. So my vibration would tend to be very high, and then one day, you know, I don't know what it is, but I tapped into like this other dimension once again, and I was just like there was just so much energy flowing through me, and I really felt like a god, you know. Like literally I was really feeling myself, and I was just like so happy, and everything was like shining, vibrant, and it was all beautiful. But yeah,
Cool.
I was once again in this other dimension. And you know, I feel like when you fast, when you do a urine fast, you really do experience this, right?
Oh yeah.
And then yes, and then
Multiple times. It may not be all day, but you'll get spurts of this, like,
bliss.
oh, who am I now?
Mhm.
You know, I'm at another level
Right,
of
exactly.
who I am, and instead of get excited, but just like, okay, sit back and relax. Everything else seems normal or observably normal, and then you feel that by your own vibration.
Definitely. Yeah, you know, and I also feel like because what urine does is it like in a sense does give us energy, but it doesn't give us enough energy to the point where we are like judgmental or like doing anything. So it does really allow us to sit back and observe, you know, like when you're doing a urine fast. And like this was what I did a lot when I was going through my fast. I was observing society and everything. And when I had got out of the fast, it was like I was literally in another dimension, you know, and it was like I did not see things the same anymore. And that was it, you know, even though it was 6 days, that was a life transformative 6 days, you know. Also
Mm-hmm.
something that
Well, your body starts to metabolize, the pathogens, old, cellular waste, and you squeeze through, and you're like, I'm not the same anymore. I'm
right.
not the same person that I was 6 days ago. How'd that happen? You know,
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's all
it's metaphysics beyond our wildest dreams.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, you know, all this makes me want to do is go on a urine therapy, go not urine therapy, but go on a urine fast, you know. But I don't really like to force these things. I feel like there's a time for it to come, and rather just let it flow and allow it to come. It's like even though I might want to do it now, I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm not in the position to do the fast or whatever, you know. Yeah, you know, everything has its time and place, and everything happens when it's meant, when it has been meant to happen, you know, or when it's meant to happen. Everything is
Yeah,
since
it'll feel right.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was, you know, really nice talking to you.
Pleasure. I've
Rose,
enjoyed sharing our conversation.
yeah, very nice conversation. Such a long conversation as well, right? You know, this has been
Short in time, really. It's really short.
right. This is, I bet it is. But this has been you know, Soli and Rosaline. How do you say your name? Is it Rosaline?
Well, Roz for short, and
Ros
most people, family members, my full name is Rosalind.
Rosalind. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think in the beginning I called you Rose.
Yeah, that's all right. I've been called when I go, other places, and they're like, "Oh, Rose," and like, no, there's no e at the end. It's just Roz. Like, the Wizard of Oz,
Yeah,
Oz with her R in the front.
yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. So yeah, this has been our beautiful talk on urine therapy. We do hope that you guys learn a thing or two from it. But yeah, and like they say, well, namaste. But
Been
also, I just
across.
want to say, if you guys would like to find us, we're on YouTube at Alkalize to Realize Talk Show, and we are also, you can find us on YouTube at the activation of the Philosopher's Stone. Thank you for watching, and like they say, namaste.